Cultural design is perhaps the single most important science to develop. And so it struck me as odd that there is so little information about it. So let's go and look at what seems to be available. So this is looking at companies, how to make more money with design. Let's look at this a little bit because business does often lead the way. Can we get this closer? Okay, so we're not getting real principles for redesigning. Now this is good that this is becoming a big issue. So I'll buy this. Attempt to, okay. So business is often leading the way to best practices because people will choose cult or culture or normalcy over happiness. But they will choose money over normalcy. So people will do weird things for money, but they will not do weird things to be happy. And as a result, weirdness or evolution tends to take place in business more than in culture. And so we can learn let's see what we're doing here. Okay. It's a little odd. We can't read this, of course. So what's this? So Chen looks Chinese, but well, we have a culture gap here between the description and what looks like the book itself. Now this is going to be a good
Serving members. To create something that others want to join and support, we have to remember a core tenet. Communities function best and are most durable when they're helping members to be more successful in some way in a connected and dynamic world. If you forget this, or even worse, if you never understand this, then your efforts will be misplaced. The communities I'm encouraging you to build should make people, including you, stronger, happier, and full of well-being. Simply gathering people on your block together can do this. So can connecting millions of people around the world. If we fail to get members excited about committing their time and effort, they'll leave.
So that is an obvious point. We're not addressing the full scope of designing a culture. A culture is a pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being in all areas, from diet to exercise to communication to format of media. It's all culture, and we're not looking at culture at a big enough level. I'm going to buy this as well and see if the author is interested in dialogue. Can you understand how enormous this subject is? So this is talking about educational culture. Now this is the one book that I bought that's actually talking about designing a culture as a whole. I think it is the only book. I think I bought this already. Let's see if I bought it. Okay, so let's see what
Meet Nick, a handsome, dark-haired man in his 20s, seated comfortably in a wood-paneled conference room in Seattle with 3 other people. To outward appearances, he is an ordinary participant in an ordinary meeting. This appearance, however, is deceiving. The other people in the room do not know it, but his mission is to sabotage the group's performance. Nick is the key element of an experiment being run by Will Phelps, who studies organizational behavior at the University of South Wales in Australia. Phelps has brought in Nick to portray 3 negative archetypes: the jerk, an aggressive, defiant deviant; the slacker, a withholder of effort; and the downer, a depressive Eeyore type.
So I would say this is a very well-written book, and I got a certain amount into it. I'll see if I have the stamina to go into the rest of it. But we're not looking at designing a culture, at a community or a national scale. we're looking at tweaking elements of business again. And it is important to learn what we can from business, because in a capitalist culture, people are worshiping capital more than they are worshiping happiness and well-being because of the laws of identity. So I did buy this. And it was not very good. Beginning, like if we look at the, like this is actually much easier to read than the book. This has good font. The actual font in the book is about 3 times smaller than this, so I cannot actually read the text. It is the smallest font book that I've purchased. So Kindle would be a better way to get that. I got the paperback. But this is not all. This is the only book, I believe, in the world looking at the design of culture. And there he's focusing on regenerative. But what about just designing a culture? Once you know how to design a culture, you can make regenerative cultures, belonging cultures, foodie cultures. You can create any culture you want. But what are the principles and protocols of designing a culture and of looking at your culture through the lens of good design? That is not here. The regenerative business, regenerative leadership. The art of cultural design. It's not even in the language. 0. This is cross-cultural design. Okay, so this is how to design web pages that can Okay, so we're not actually looking at culture. We're looking at business culture. But that's too high, meaning the point at which we decide to pursue work above all else, when we already have more wealth than emperors of, a few hundred years ago, that is cultural design. The point at which we continue to do that, but design different or more profitable business cultures, that's business design. It's not cultural design. Cultural design analyzes how much time each group spends making money versus building strong relationships versus ecstasy versus ceremony versus dance versus, that's cultural design. So this is design and culture, but they're referring to design in graphical sense, and this looks like it probably is as well. Of course they're inseparable, but that's not the development of the interactive museum exhibit. When you're designing cultures, one of the things you have to look at is, do you relate to the past through a museum? Or do you relate to the past through stories or through images? You know, that's cultural design. So we're back into business. So basically, the whole paradigm of designing a culture has not transcended niche areas of art and business, which means that the single most important talent on the planet today is not even in the language, let alone any comprehensive science and research being done on how to design a culture that delivers 10 times the amount of sustainable well-being per member than the existing cult or culture.